Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. I'm Lucky Grimm. I'm here with amazing Nerd Caliber, and we're going to talk to men who cosplay. More specifically, men who can sew in cosplay. And just like everybody else, I do love a bro who can sew. So my amazing panel of guests today, first down at the end.
I'm Drew the Costumer.
And I know Drew a lot. He does a lot of wigs and amazing sewing work and has worked professionally in the industry. And our second guest.
I'm Steven from Low Dame Cosplay.
And you might know Low Dame Cosplay from the mashups he does with Assassin's Creed and Legend of Zelda, which we'll show a little bit later in the episode. And then this guy.
I'm Kevin with Glitch Cos.
And Kevin's mostly known for the amazing Megaman costumes. We're going to be showing the helmets a little bit later. And in the very end...
I'm Jonah from Chewbacca Cosplay.
And Jonah is the little brother I didn't think my parents had while on vacation and has made its way into my life. You know him a lot as Starkiller or... what was the last one you just did?
From Ruby?
I did John from Ruby.
John from Ruby. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and step into some questions that our viewers have sent to us. And I'd like to ask you guys, how did you get into cosplay? I'm going to start with Drew.
So, I was at... This is kind of a longish story. I was at the mall when I was 16 with... I don't remember who it was. We're gonna
So,
call
like last week?
Yeah, right? Yeah, so I was at the mall with friend A, and I don't remember who friend A was. Mm-hmm. And we ran into Jonah and friend B at Zoomies. And me and Jonah started talking. And me and Jonah hadn't really met before. Like, we were in the first grade together, but, like, we weren't really, like, buddy-buddy. And I was like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been collecting toys for years. And he's like, I'm working on a Star Wars costume. And I was like, say what? And so me and Jonah just started talking so much that friend A and B were like, all right, we're just going to go. And so me and Jonah hung out, and we went to my house, and we were up till 4 a.m. looking at Mandalorian mercs. And from that point on, that was like the start of our like best friendship.
Steven.
2006, I was told I was going to cosplay. So
You were voluntold.
Yeah, my friend made me a Zorro costume from One Piece, and I went to NecoCon in Virginia. Yeah.
That's a hike.
Well, I was in
Virginia
already.
Oh, okay, never mind.
For other reasons.
Makes more sense.
So I went, and I had a lot of fun, and then kind of took a break due to military. But, yeah. And then when I got back to the States and had a chance, started up again and started learning to sew, and here I am.
Okay. Kevin.
Back in 2000, I think 11, I was at a bar, and one of my friends said, you probably can't make a costume that could win a contest. A couple years later, I had all these really nice costumes for bars, and I was going through a pretty rough breakup, and I'm like, screw it, let's go to Boston Comic-Con. So I downed 2 shots of Jameson, a 5-hour energy drink, and got on the tee.
Amen.
In Tron. It was interesting.
I remember this story. And circling back to Jonah, how'd you get involved?
So my story starts right before Drew's. I was really just kind of a loner in my home, looking at things on the internet. I accidentally found someone who made a custom Mandalorian costume. I got into that, started doing a bunch of research, and then Drew and I met, and we both started researching it together and started building our first suits.
Oh, friends.
Tumblr's a dark hole.
Tumblr. It was like sophomore year, man. I didn't know what Tumblr was.
Okay, I assume you all have non-cosplay friends. What do they think about this hobby you're in? I'm going to start with Steven.
A lot of them, they think it's really cool. A few of them think I'm wasting my life and need to get a life.
Not wrong.
Hey, you do this more than I do.
Drew?
I no longer have a lot of non-cosplay friends, but they all have the same general reaction. They're like, you do that? And then I talk about to the degree that I do it, and they're like, that's super cool. I want to do that, but I have no skills. And I was like, yeah, well, rough life.
Jonah?
So the real interaction I have with people that don't cosplay about cosplay is people in my unit with the National Guard, and that's literally just them, nerd.
I mean, in their defense, I do the same thing to you.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually great. A lot of people in my unit are really supportive of it because they're also nerdy.
That's great.
But it's, for the most part, kind of cool. Yeah.
Kevin?
I have only a handful of friends that don't cosplay, and like a lot of them kind of like go through my pictures, and they're like, "That's really cool." And a few of them like, "You know that girl?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm really good friends with her," and they're like, "Seriously?" And then like I show them pictures, I'm like, "Yeah, no, this is us drinking together. This is us hanging out. I've seen way too much of that girl."
You're talking about me, aren't you?
Okay. And a few others.
Yeah, good. All right, guys. Are there different challenges you have as a male cosplayer that you don't normally see women have that problem with?
Yeah, people treat me like a piece of meat.
Steven? I'm just ignoring him now.
I'd say we get looked over a little bit, like, more easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if one of the girl cosplayers comes around, especially one of the quote-unquote sexy girl cosplayers comes around, like, anybody was talking to us about anything, just, like, they're talking to us and then, oh, hey,
Yeah.
there's person B, and then we're ignored. It doesn't always happen, but it happens.
Okay. Is this the same for you, Drew?
Yeah, to get any amount of serious recognition is, really hard, and I find that, people are just immediately, like Stephen was saying, more drawn to the female crowd.
Okay.
In my experience, I'd say that when it's I don't want to say male versus female, but it's kind of what we're talking about here. For female, like, the norm is sexy by default. Otherwise, you have to have amazing craftsmanship, Rachel. And for men, it's like you have to have big stature, big lights, or big sound, Kevin. So it's...
Yeah, I don't have that problem, so I guess.
So, I mean, it's a matter of, like, some craftsmanship for men, like Drew and Steven especially. Sorry, Kevin. Might get overlooked because they're not, like, giant or, like, literally glowing from the other side of the convention.
On this, do you guys feel that... I know it's a huge problem in the female community with cosplayers of the cosplays not consent. Do you, as men, feel that way too? Do you get propositioned, or do you find yourselves in physically uncomfortable areas based off your cosplay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Captain America is, like, number one. Captain America, Drew knows.
Yep, I'll talk about that too.
Lots of grab. Lots of I mean, the unwarranted hugs, like, I can get over that, but, like, when they start getting really touchy feely, I was a little weird. But especially as Cap, that happens a lot.
Do you feel like fans or congoers in general are more adept to go after men like that than women because of the cosplay is not consent is much more towards the female cosplayers?
It definitely, it's an overarching cosplay is not consent, so it's like it's definitely like an all-inclusive thing, but like people might not view it as that because it probably started with an incident about a female cosplayer, which definitely seems to be the case more often anyway.
Oh. You gentlemen?
Yeah, like John was saying, with Captain America, I find, like, a lot of moms are really like, oh, hey, Cap! And, so, we have to kind of like, I'm like, all right, thank you, goodbye. Also, when I was doing Judge Lex a few years back, that was kind of weird, too, where they were like, what's up? I'm like, have you seen the movie?
Steven?
I got it a lot with Obi-Wan, surprisingly. Moms and just random
If
people.
anybody could ever find the film of him as Obi-Wan at C2E2, it was the best comedy experience of my entire life, watching him super uncomfortable, but surrounded by people like, Obi-Wan, can we take your photo? And I could just see you, like, just putting this shield up.
I don't know that.
But no, Obi-Wan gets sexually harassed. A bit.
General
Mike
Kenobi.
The only time that I've been inappropriately touched was when I was wearing someone else's costume and I thought I was a female. And they didn't realize it until I turned around and I'm like, hey. And they got really creeped out. So, like, I tend to throw it right back at people when they kind of do some inappropriate stuff. It's not that bad. I tend to just shrug it off, but I do see it, and it's usually like inappropriate mothers.
Yeah.
That are like the biggest violators with that. Just I see that stroller and I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna get touched.
Yeah, they're like, hey, can my kids get a picture with you? What up?
Yeah. But that was funny because it was a girl that's known for this one costume that she made, but it's for a guy. So a lot of people, you know which one I'm talking about.
That was comedy gold. You're like, hey, what's up? Nothing.
Hey. Yeah, that was fun.
Okay, speaking on this whole interaction you have with fans, do you feel that it's harder to get more notoriety as a male cosplayer than it is as a female cosplayer? Sexualized costumes aside, do you think it's harder for you to gain any recognition for your craftsmanship?
I think you have to go about it a little bit differently. I tend to get recognized for my stuff, but that's because I do a lot of panels. I just don't do posters and try to sell them. I do casting panels, and a lot of people who are interested in it always remember me. I did a panel at MegaCon, and I'm not from the Florida area, and I packed the room, and 2 days after the panel, people still came up to me and wanted to talk to me and had questions for me, and it was just kind of really blown away by the reaction I got, because you think most guys oh no, we get passed over a lot because we aren't as attractive, I should say, or eye candy-ish. Is that the right?
Candy-esque, probably.
Yeah.
Some of us, man.
Than some of the other well-known, very attractive cosplayers. So it was kind of I don't know, a little hurrah for me, because I've had this in the past where I'm at a table with someone who's very well-known, and they're wearing one of my helmets, and they think that person's me. Huh. And they start talking to them, oh, hey, Glitch, I loved your panel the other day, and I'm I'm right behind them. I'm just giggling.
It's like that scene in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Where he's like, thank you, Ancient One.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, no.
He's just a janitor.
Now, Drew, I met you through competitions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like competing in craftsmanship is a way to kind of put yourself out there more as a male cosplayer?
It's definitely, I think, the best way to kind of prove it. You have to kind of prove that you have that in you. And it's not easy, because you have to go up against, the attractive, female cosplayers in, next to nothing. And it's tough. You have to go so far above and beyond to catch the eye.
Mm-hmm. And Steven?
Yeah, we have to, everything is detail. If we don't stand out, we're left behind.
And I think that almost all men who cosplay that do the more sewing based are some of the better craftsmen. I helped you find a job in the industry. I was like, no, you need to work in this.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that it's a disservice that you guys get looked over, and nothing against those who do the sexy cosplays, because Lord knows I do that too. Some other people also do that here too.
Kyla Boudoir.
Oh,
Boudoir, sorry.
Boudoir.
Yeah.
But
Obi-Wan.
it's almost a huge disservice, because I've seen Lodium's Steven's workmanship. If you want to bring that out here,
Sure.
This stuff is gorgeous, and he made it this is something I could not do as a 20-year veteran of sewing. But he made these amazing gauntlets for his assassin Link, and they're all leather worked.
So,
And what award did you win last year with this costume?
I got first place journeyman at Boston Comic Con.
I mean,
I didn't know that. Congrats.
Yeah. I had no idea.
You did? I did not know.
Kevin was a judge.
Thanks, Kevin.
So what I like to tell men cosplayers that want to show off their work, I'm like, please compete, because this is amazing stuff you'd never see unless they competed and gained some sort of recognition for it. Now, what Kevin touched on a little bit is the selling of prints and photos in cosplay. I know I'm guilty of that, because I like to make a glorious side hustle, and I need to buy more fabric. Have you guys ever thought of selling prints or posters or fan items as men?
Personally, it hasn't never really crossed my mind selling prints. I don't really think the market's there as much, except for the guys who are really hard chiseled abs, and they can kind of just do that.
Drew?
Absolutely not. Because I have this vision of me sitting at my table all day with people just walking by and side-eyeing me, and I just have my flip book of prints of like Sweeney Todd and Geralt of Rivia, and like I'm just sitting there, and I can't have that.
Steven?
I have actually thought about it, only because it was suggested to me.
I think I was one of the people that actually suggested it to you.
Yeah, you, a couple other big name cosplayers have mentioned it. They're like, you should do this. Like your Obi-Wan, your Assassin Link, your Link. Like, people really like these costumes and might want prints, but I still haven't done anything with that.
Yeah. I feel like men should do more prints, because I think like of the cosplay prints I own, 50% of them are male prints. Like Leon Chiro, I have the Robin Studios Predator print.
That's an awesome print. I love that.
It's
picture.
amazing, and I feel like a lot with like men's photos, you guys do more of the cinematography, like the still photos type of look, and I feel like that's a niche market that really does need to be addressed and used, not just like Magic Carp. Look up ripped Magic Carp
But also,
online.
kudos to that guy though. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like, honestly,
oof.
that was like the best.
Oof. But like I'm personally going to give you guys the challenge to like look into it, trying to see if it's out there, because I wish there was more men who did prints, as somebody who buys prints all the time. And on photos, do you guys as men feel it's harder for you to book photo shoots with photographers?
No, not at all. I only shoot with Ben
actually.
Robin. Oh, can't say his name.
You could say Ben Robbins
Yeah.
of Robin Studios. I think
He's the only
almost
one I
all of
shoot
us
with.
have shot with him.
Amazing.
No one else can capture this glory, except for Micro Kitty cosplay. She's actually fairly good, but Ben Robbins is my first go-to.
Jonah.
I never really have an issue, honestly. We've networked pretty hard in the last few years to get good relationships with the local photographers, especially.
Okay.
So going to a lot of the local conventions,
Including Ben.
and Michael Creedy.
Name
So
drop.
it's name drops. So it's really easy to just kind of network out from them, especially because they also know other photographers.
Okay.
It's not too hard to find someone.
You guys?
I've never personally had any real issue. Booking Ben has Robin's photography has been like it's been like a challenge before, but it's like not really anymore. And now, I have another friend who just started up B Marshalitis Photography, who is absolutely incredible and has been recently doing all my shoots, and I absolutely love it. He only lives a half hour away, so it's really easy.
And Steven?
I've never had any problems. I have a few photographers that are like, hey, you need to come shoot with us. The only problem is I live in Narnia and up in Maine, so it's just getting to
Left
them.
Narnia.
Like, left Narnia.
As men cosplayers, and I know as a female cosplayer and other cosplayers of the female variety, we get pressured a lot to do sexier and sexier costumes, showing more skin and more skin. Do you guys ever feel that pressure as men?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I actually recently had a few different people asking me to buy a Virgin Killer sweater. So I did.
If you are
I can't sit
unaware
next to
what
you.
a Virgin Killer sweater is,
Look at anyone's Patreon.
turn the safe search on and then look.
Yeah, so I have that one on deck.
Okay. Drew?
Yeah, about twice a year, that guy tries to convince me to do a Spartan from 300. And I'm like, dude, we have way too many tattoos. I'm not big enough. It's not gonna work. And it's about twice a year but that's about
Shoot it
it.
with a small
One of
camera.
them.
That might work.
Yeah, right? Like an upward shot.
That's not how this works.
A lot of airbrushing.
Lots of airbrushing, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think the most recent one was actually like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
I've been pushed to try boudoir. People really want the Obi-Wan boudoir.
I want Obi-Wan.
Hello there.
Yeah, where's that petition?
I already signed it.
Change.org.
And something Drew just touched on, I want to talk about. I myself have tattoos. You don't normally see them in costume, but do you guys ever feel pressured to cover your tattoos up, or do you feel awkward showing them off?
I do.
You don't have
I
any.
was gonna say, aren't you the only guy in here that doesn't have tattoos? Most of our costumes, I think, if I can speak for Drew and I, and probably Steve as well, most of us have long sleeve costumes for the most part. Starkel had short sleeves, and that one, like, sometimes this peeks out a little bit, but like I don't know, looks kind of Star Warsy. I don't really care too much.
Do you pick the costume to intentionally cover them up, or is that just like a circumstance, or like just a happenstance?
It usually is just a happenstance. However, I'm very particular. I don't want any of my tattoos showing. Mm-hmm. I probably should have thought about that before I got a tattoo down to the wrist, but
we all told you.
Hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight 2020. But I find that I don't want any of my tattoos showing. Mm-hmm. But I get a lot of pressure from the community to not care about them showing, which for somebody like me is kind of obnoxious. Yeah. Because I'm like, no, I don't want them out. But yeah, so I do choose long sleeve ones. I'm preferential to the long sleeve, but it's not solely for that reason.
Okay. Steven?
I've recently started getting into doing drinking costumes, and like for Obi-Wan. For those, I do not care whatsoever if my tattoos are showing. But for actual costumes, I tend to choose stuff that cover my tattoos. Just personal preference.
Okay. One day.
When you're 18.
What you guys don't know is we spent like a whole night talking about best friend tattoos.
Oh yeah.
It went down the bad hole. Like
Tumblr. That's all I have to say.
Pain, panic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Duh.
Okay, so in this whole idea of your experience versus a female experience, I know I've had to come up against this many, many times, as well as many other female cosplayers, is like people trying to check our nerd credit. Trying to be like, oh, do you really know about that character? Oh, did you really read Squirrel Girl #4? Do you really know? Do you guys ever feel that pressure to prove your nerd cred when you're in a costume?
I would actually say that the general overarching answer would be no. People just assume because we're men that we know, which is not always the case. When I did the Winter Soldier a few years ago, I always I do my research in case anybody puts me on the spot, because I never want to be proven wrong. But so I did the Winter Soldier a few years back, and I knew absolutely nothing about the character outside of what was in the movie. And so I did research, read the whole Wikipedia, and blah, blah, blah. So I always know what I'm doing, but not to the extent I should, probably.
Steven?
I've been drilled several times on Star Wars and Legend of Zelda. Those are the biggest ones that I pretty much only cosplay from them. But I've had people come up to me and just go in depth on Obi-Wan and Star Wars lore, and I'm just, I was like, I know the movies.
Was it in the movies? If not, yeah.
So it
That's
does
not
happen,
canon.
and then
We don't talk about that.
I've been called a fake nerd guy, a fake Star Wars fan.
Wait, you like Star Wars?
Right?
What's a Star Wars?
What's a Star Wars?
What's a Star Wars?
I mean Star Trek.
But
right?
it has happened, and it's happened from like guys, girls, like everybody. It's happened many, many times.
No. You?
I'm just gonna talk.
Oh, I know the story you're gonna say.
Which one?
Tron.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to hear it.
Oh, that's actually that's not more of checking my cred. That's just me being
A butt.
But
the guy had it coming to him.
Okay.
But no, I get I find out people check my cred, but they don't like just go up and be like, "Oh, do you know this?" They do it really subtly. So it's like they start like going into the character history, and it's more of like kind of like questioning me on it, but in a very subtle manner. And I usually, like most of the characters that I do it because I love them, and I know just about everything and more than that person. Like I become Rain Man when they start talking to me, and then they just walk away.
Never ask him about Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah,
Ever.
I'm
You're never
the
moving
maester.
from that spot.
or
Yeah.
Megaman.
Or Megaman.
Yeah,
Or
no,
Megaman.
yeah, Mega Man 2. But no, that story with the Tron suit. No, I was just being a butt to some neck breather.
Neck breather.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
was
like a
at-
neck
Guys,
beard
breathe
mouth
that out of his
breather?
Yeah, no, like my
Is it a thorium?
second day of Boston Comic Con, my second day cosplaying, I get on the T, which is a story on itself. But some guy came up to me and he's like, oh, what was he? Isn't it a little early for Halloween? And like he was ready for like some nerd to like to start bawling crying. I'm not that person. So I instantly fire back. I'm like, wait, oh my God, thank you so much. I did not know it was not Halloween. You saved my life. Like I just went on. And then like I just started belittling him. And by the time I got off the bus, he felt like this big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you didn't expect that, did you? Yeah, no, I'm in sales.
That's bullshit.
Eat one. And I walked off, yeah.
Jonah?
God, I don't even know how I can follow that up.
Yeah.
That's
Good
why I
luck,
tried
buddy.
to skip
It's
them.
a little too much, yeah.
It was a cold December night.
When it comes to people checking my nerd cred, it doesn't really happen too much. I don't really think I've had any like negative experiences with that. It's more like casual conversation about the character.
Yeah, as people try to like subtly like ease it in.
I don't think I view it as nefarious as you do though. Like people,
Yeah.
It's like people are like, oh, Starkiller. Remember that one time in the video game? I'm like, yeah, I guess we kick Ewoks sometimes, but
I was just about to bring up that story. I took videos of this neck breather at a celebration, just going on and on about kicking Ewoks in Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
and me as Starkiller, I was like, thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could do that. That was a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
see that.
And on that topic, I actually found that I recently accidentally was actually checking somebody's cred, like on like knowledge. It was at PAX. I was dressed up as a girl, and like I ran into a Yennefer, and I just like I started going on about it, and then like I realized I was like, oh, this is kind of like I might be
Slightly
doing this.
condescending.
Yeah, I might be slightly condescending right now. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, all right, I'm done.
I would have kept going.
Drew,
But like I just own it.
Yeah.
You don't have an off switch.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just have an on and on-er.
You keep inviting.
Like a boost on.
Yeah, boost.
Yeah.
Boost.
Boost.
Double bass.
I actually really like that story because, like, a lot of times we all get into costumes, and I know, like, so much Assassin's Creed talk back and forth, and Sweeney Todd stuff back and forth and whatnot. But there is a big difference between, like, oh my god, I really love this thing that you love and you're dressed as, and I'm also dressed as. And then, like, hey, are you as big as a nerd as I am? I'm testing you.
I was definitely
Yeah.
It was definitely that where I was like.
That's
where
what I mean.
walked
It's
up and
it's
she was like,
very
Team
subtle.
Yen, and I was like, no way, I'm Team Triss because in the books, and like I just totally like went into it.
Oh,
And
I love how
well,
like
yeah, exactly.
a lot of conversation.
And it's-
As soon as you're like, well, in the books, and then they're
Exactly.
just like, I'm done.
And that's exactly what it was like because like I'm like just such a Witcher nerd about it, and then and like I said, I was like, oh wait a second.
You're about to get so much hate for being a Team Triss, I'm sure.
Sure,
Everyone that
yeah.
watches this is gonna hate you.
I gotta think for redheads. No way.
Redheads.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
oh,
in it,
oh.
but
Before this spirals into the bad
Yeah.
place.
I think it'll
No,
we're
I
already
think that's
there.
like part of our responsibilities as adult cosplayers or like the master's level cosplayers is to be like, oh, we're the bad kids.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
be like, okay, I'm going to stop this behavior and learn from
Yep.
it. And everybody's done that before. I think I've gone to be like, oh my god, you love Sailor Moon? Did you read Stars and the weird translation they put out?
Yeah.
I've done that before, and we all have to kind of sit back like, are we being butts?
Yeah. You have to kind of be aware that you're being a butt.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna like turn this around, and I actually want to talk about your craftsmanship. We've talked about the social aspect, but the actual craftsmanship is what I love to see you guys make. Like, I know I've been following Drew and Steven for years, and you too. And one thing I love about Drew is not only is he a garment maker, but he also does a lot of fashion pieces, and he brought a women's wear dress he made. Can you go ahead and show that to us,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely. I gotta get off screen for a
Your
second.
arms are not that long.
I know, right?
tiny man.
Yeah, so I was at work and I just had this idea for a dress and so I just started doodling on the back of a kids menu and
Crayons.
and yeah, and I came up with this design and I went, to Joann's after work and I picked up all the fabric for it and I went home and on my dress form I started draping, muslin to make the patterns and I went from, design to finished product in a day.
Do you think your start as a cosplayer has led to this design ability?
I definitely think that it has, where, I started, replicating other people's ideas and then, I kind of got into fashion and, I got more aware of, that kind of thing. And, recently I posted a status on Facebook about this, where recently I've been going to a lot of like designer clothing stores and, I'm seeing these things that I'm like, this is dumb. I could have done this better. And
I
I was
look at
like,
clothing differently.
exactly. And I was like, I'm going to try that. So I'm now kind of branching off into fashion design as well as costume.
Do you think you'll keep going with that and do more fashion design instead of cosplay later on?
I think cosplay is definitely on its way out for me, which, but that's not to say that costumes are, where I'm right now, I'm really in, I'm getting into costume design in the industry. But I find I don't have much want to be in the costume anymore.
I love this dress. This is
Thank you so
so
much.
on point for this season, by the way, guys.
Very summer.
Yeah.
Very summer. And when it comes to
I love the
Steven,
warm colors.
Yes.
those are cool, but okay, honey. When it comes to Steven's work, I love that he does a lot of these mashups. And recently at C2E2, he wore around the Assassin Link mashup that he also wore at Boston Comic Con. And if you go ahead and show that on camera, the detailing is amazing. And there's so much sewing that goes into this. And one of the things I hate most in the cosplay community is someone goes to a male cosplayer and they're like, oh, that's really well sewn. Did your girlfriend do it?
I get that all the time.
Oof.
Oh.
Oof. And, or did your wife do this? Or did your mom do it? I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, don't assume because he's a man that he did not sew this. This is gorgeous. Like, it's all done on the inside. All the, like, detailed stitching, all completely lined.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful
100%.
even by, our standards.
Yeah,
You
even
know.
by like our standards, master's level, little brother. I do love Jonah so much.
Someone's gotta.
But it's just like amazing craftsmanship, and he's not trained in the art, mostly self-taught.
Yeah, this almost everything I learned was somebody showing me, or YouTube.
YouTube
or
is the
just
best.
Trying to figure something out on my own. Like I've told people they're like, "How do you do this?" I'm like, I just tried it one time and got better at it.
Yeah, you just kind of think your way through the problems, and then you try
yeah.
it. And, yeah.
Sometimes you give up and then go back to it.
One of the biggest hurdles in this hobby, I feel, is people don't understand that it's just diving into the deep end.
Yep.
It's just trying it. They're like, oh, I don't take classes. I'm like, very few of us did.
Yeah.
Like, none of us here have degrees
Yep.
in this. Like, we just did trial and error.
On that note of diving into the deep end, like people are always like, oh my god, like I wish I could sew like that. I wish I could paint like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, before I wanted to make a costume, I never used a can of spray paint. When I started, I was like, hey Mom, can you sew this Velcro right here for me? Because I didn't know how to do it. I started doing it because I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
And
it's,
exactly, it's people
gotta
just not
dive in.
wanting to take that plunge.
Make mistakes and learn from it.
Exactly. You have to accept, okay, this didn't work out. I
Don't
did
care,
something
don't
wrong.
dog hair. No, I just realized you use so many different, there's like so many hidden things in here. And
I was also doing that. Like,
was
around
like-
rope, I've never
I
noticed.
finally get to like manhandle his costume. Like one of my favorite things about cosplay is I'm usually stuck at a booth or I'm judging, and usually we judge together. But I love getting to see other people's stuff and like what they did and how they learned, and I love getting to like finally actually like manhandle this costume. Is usually wearing it, and that's awkward.
Cosplay is not consent.
Yeah. We just touched about this.
Yeah, I know.
Touch.
But I love all the different type of textures and fabrics he used, and this is your own design, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd had some help doing the design because I'm not a pattern maker. I'm going to drop a name here. Belshare helped me with this.
Who's that?
Belshare.
I've never heard of her.
She's kind of famous.
Cos fame.
She's
Yeah.
currently behind the camera, rolling her eyes.
One of our good friends.
Yeah. She helped me with some of the patterning because I don't know how to pattern very well. But she forced me to sew it all myself. But it's from here. It's just assassins are. It's a very labor intensive costume. I highly don't recommend anybody to do it unless you have a extreme love of assassins because they're just. It's hundreds of hours.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, don't do it. I loved it, but you don't do it.
You will hate yourself and you will love the final product.
I get that.
It's one of the things I say to baby cosplayers. I'm like, you have to love what you're making
Yeah.
because you're going to hate it by the end of the project. Like any large build, like small quick builds, like spandex suits or whatnot, super easy to get in and out. But like something like this, or even your Sweeney Todd, or Geralt, or Starkiller, or Megaman. Take a long time, and if like you're not invested in that character, you're gonna
Yeah.
quit because
Yeah, you're
what's
gonna hate
the
it.
point?
Yeah. It's just gonna be a chore.
That's why I only do what I love, because it takes forever to make the costume. And
Exactly.
if you don't love it, by day 2, you're like, screw
Yes.
this.
Yeah, and with us today is one of Kevin's Mega Man helmets. You've probably seen these all over the internet. They're now making like kind of like off-brand ones of yours, like commercially made, but
Well, they couldn't make the one Proto Man helmet because it was too difficult,
yeah.
and that's the first one I made.
Yeah. I love these helmets. They look nearly professional. Well, they do look professional. Nearly.
Thanks.
There's some old school cosplay shade for you.
Yeah.
You're nearly professional. You gonna make that again?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna remake them.
But Kevin's more known for these amazingly detailed armors, but what a lot of people don't understand is he also sews the bodysuits that go under them. And sewing spandex is a whole different world than like it's a whole different world, a whole different rules you have to learn, and we basically learn together at the same time, like just trial and error. And if you can go ahead and pick up the helmet for me and show like the inside, the whole thing's finished. And
Yeah, the inside I use like a hard hat, just a resting piece so it grabs my head and I can adjust it for anyone else. But beyond that, everything I sculpted and casted this, painted it with automotive paint. This thing has a couple dings and dents, but I've had it for what, 2-3 years now.
oh, you've had that longer.
Is it?
And what?
Is that fabric on the ears?
Yeah, no, it's fabric on the ear so I can hear.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, for hearing and
Yep, because
breathability.
my first one was solid, and if you said my name, I'd end up doing a 360, and you'd be over here, and I'd just turn all the way around.
I know them feels.
And so I put fabric in here so I can hear. It actually helped with heat.
That's really smart. Yeah.
My old helmet with my visor, if I wasn't moving, I'd be sweating bullets, and I'd always have to be on the move to get like airflow. As soon as I did that, I could sit and not sweat bullets.
One thing I love about these helmets is Kevin kind of like changed the game with cosplay armor. Before this, it was just fiberglass. And then before that, or like after that, was just thermoplastics, like Fibra and Warbla and Wonderflex. But now, especially with the panels he's doing at different conventions, it's so much easier to make stuff like this with the ability of Reynolds Advanced Plastics. And you can make screen accurate pieces.
And durable.
And durable, like...
I've had this for a few years now. Like, I throw this in my suitcase.
I've seen this go down the stairs.
Yeah, dropped, or a car ran over it.
Go down the stairs with Kevin in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a really funny story.
The dark stories of Dragon Con.
My armor is extremely durable. A lot of times you see a lot of these big builds, and they're held together with hot glue and dreams and duct tape. And one time, one of my good friends, Boston's Deadpool, I built, me and him, I showed him how to make these armors. We used all my molds, and he made a really gorgeous Metal Man armor with me. And it was his first time, like, wearing, like, armor that I helped him with. And he's being really ginger with it, because he's used to big foam stuff.
Yep.
That, you walk too fast and it'll start falling apart on him. We're at Katsu, so it's really crowded. And this one female in this gigantic League of Legends cosplay, just over the top.
League of Legends.
Yeah. Well, they kind of like bump into each other as they're passing, and Jim hears snap, crack, pop, pop, and he is freaking out because he spent a good 6 months making this armor with me, and like he's like, oh my god, and he looks down and like, there's nothing, like I'm like, oh, hold on. You're good.
Yeah.
Didn't even scratch it. Just had some of her paint on his. Her whole like leg blew up. Like, I felt horrible for her, but I'm like, dude, we're freaking tanks. Let's go.
That's a really good point. By making things and molding them and casting them,
Compared to
makes
foam.
it makes it so
The
you
problem
don't have
with,
one go at it.
Yeah, the problem with foam armor, which is very easy and cheap, and like you can make some really impressive stuff with foam. The only issue is it doesn't last 2-3
And if somebody
cons.
sits on it, it's
yeah,
dead.
2-3 cons. You leave it in your car, and like heat, it just.
Yep.
Like I've left this like on my dashboard, like literally, like I just hand
I found
this
this
to
in the
people.
most random places
Yeah.
in your apartment.
I just hand it to people. I'm like, here, throw it. Put it on.
Like we've all worn this.
Hot potato. I've tried
if
putting
you're-
that. I've tried putting that helmet on before. It is too small for me.
Yeah.
I've never played Megaman.
Fake nerd.
Can I see your nerd card? Please?
Yeah, right.
But I love that Kevin does these panels all over the country now. We just did the one at MegaCon. We have one or two more scheduled throughout the year, and he shows people like how easy
Yeah.
it is. Like
This is my second helmet I ever made.
just
my-
looking at it can be super daunting to like a newbie cosplayer. But once they see the panels, they're like, oh no, it's not that hard. It's just expensive to do all the materials, and it's
Yeah, it's not super expensive. I mean, it's not like $10. It's more of like 100, maybe a couple hundred just in materials.
Yeah.
But your end product is absolutely gorgeous and durable.
And I'm going to move on to Jonah. Now, Jonah does something that I really look at in the industry as a dying art, which is like found items and accumulating things to be a screen accurate piece. He just did Starkiller, which is not a very well known in the public type of character. But those that know Starkiller know
It's like a
Starkiller.
fan favorite, yeah.
Yeah.
Cry
Yeah.
Run.
Kylo Ren. That was at Katsugon. Talk about that one later.
But you do the thing where you go and you scour items and you look for them and then alter them,
Oh yeah.
which is like a dying art now. Everybody thinks you have to make everything from scratch, and you really don't. How long did it take you to put Starkiller together?
Starkel was actually kind of a speed build for me. That was about 3.5 weeks.
Okay.
I started it with the intent to make it for Celebration, and then I was like, oh, but PAX is coming up. Or
Your
PAX. And I was
Starkiller
like,
came out really good.
thank you, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I was making it for Celebration, and I was like, oh, PAX is coming up. I'll make it for PAX. It's a video game costume. And I was like, oh, never mind. Katsucon's the end of this month. I guess we're going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he was doing it in my basement.
yeah, every single day
it
I'm
was-
like, Drew, can I come over?
Yeah, at one point I was like, can you not? Like, can you just do it elsewhere?
Yeah, I admit it. I told him all the time. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to get it done. I'll be done. I'll be out in like an hour.
As you're sanding old Bondo, and it gets everywhere.
Just
There
arms
was
day
no
all
Bondo in
day.
that costume. Come on.
Yeah, that's one thing you touched on that I really like is the fact that like most of us found our best friends through this dumb hobby.
Yeah.
I know you two are like super BFFs.
Oh yeah.
They are
kindergarten class.
Andy and Ollie from Bob's Burgers.
Whatever.
You're still Andy and Ollie.
Which one's which?
Like it matters.
Both at the same time.
Yeah. I'm Andy and Ollie.
I'm all in, Andy.
This is for the next 4 hours of my life. And then Kevin and I have weirdly bonded for years, like sci-fi ships us. This is so weird. And then
Yeah,
I got
they
to know
really did that pretty
Steven
hard.
through this nerd and his significant other.
Who I introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
he kind
I
of,
think the internet introduced them.
no.
He's been checking her out online for years.
Kevin kind
It was a cold December night.
Okay, we're gonna move
We
on
were-
from that. This is getting awkward. We went to the weird place. I'm sorry. But no, it's. I think some of my best friends, like even my bridesmaids, were friends I found in cosplay. Do you feel like your now cosplay friends that you work on stuff with are your best possible friends?
Yeah, because they get me. They know.
They
what,
see you,
Yeah,
Jake Sully.
they
Nice 2009 reference.
Yeah. No, that's what me and my one Jim do all the time.
no,
I see you.
They
Jake
get me.
Sully.
They understand my hobbies. They don't judge me for my hobbies. They're like, hey, they support,
Very encouraging.
They support me. It's like a good support group. So it's good. It's necessary. And
I would say that yeah, all my best friends are all cosplayers now, and I've kind of not lost all my other friends, but they've kind of just been phased out as obsolete.
There's no room for you
Because
here.
like Stephen was saying,
Can't sit here.
yeah,
Mean
like
girls.
Stephen was saying, it's they just get it, they understand like, oh, I have this big deadline coming up.
Well, and another thing I want to add to that, like when I was in high school, like most of my friends were because of geographical convenience. We
Yeah.
grew up together. So like we always have that bond, but like now that you meet people with your same likes, I mean, you're not going to meet your best friend at work. I mean, well, you're going to meet
Exactly.
some good people, but like it's really rare that you meet your honest to God
Yeah.
best friend. I met my best friend, and it's a really funny story because first time I met him, I wanted nothing to do with him. I hated him. I was going to destroy him, and he just wore me out, and we became really good
Killed you
friends.
with kindness.
That's how
Yeah.
we became friends.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah.
I'm really
He
good
just
at
showed up
that
at my
with you.
house a lot.
A lot.
Okay, and to wrap things up, I want to touch on what you're working on right now, or what's going to be your next project. And I'm going to start with Drew.
So I am currently putting together the new homemade Spider-Man suit for myself. But I'm also I just like Friday got an NDA job in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a couple projects going on. Belshare is helping me work on the Zora armor from Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
And I'm also going to be starting on working on the Thor Ragnarok Thor costume.
And Kevin?
I kind of have 2 costumes I'm doing. One of them is the Sheikah armor for Breath of the Wild. I really like that sneaky armor. It's the best.
Sneaky snake.
Sneaky. And then another, like, that's a small costume I'm working on because a lot of my costumes take me a good year to make. My next one is Megaman X. It's the True Force redesign of them. And I've been working on the helmet. I've had some other projects, some commissions that have been taking up a lot of my time. But now I'm all done with that, and I'm not taking any more commissions until I'm done with mine.
Yep.
And Jonah?
On deck right now, I actually am working on, with Drew's help mostly, Robin.
In his basement?
A little bit.
Little basement action.
Drew's doing almost all the sewing for the entire project. I'm doing leather working and such. For
Nice.
And then other than that, I'm working on a new custom set of leather Jedi armor. That'll be a fun one.
Thank you so much for coming out and telling your story and giving us the male perspective in this very female-dominated industry. And
You're welcome.
where can everybody find you on social media?
For me, it's Jay Warford on Facebook.
Okay, Kevin?
Glitch Cos on Facebook, and then you can also send a Raven. I like to go retro.
Oh, come on.
Stephen?
Low Dame Cosplay on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Drew?
I actually don't use my professional Facebook anymore, so you can add me at Drew Hart or on Instagram at Drew the Costumer.
All right, we're going to have all those links down at the bottom so you guys can follow them. Thank you so much for coming out for another episode of Behind the Scenes with Nerd Caliber. And if you want to see us do anything else, please let us know. We're here for you guys. And up next, we're going to show you how to work with spandex super quick and dirty. All right, guys, have a good day. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installation of Behind the Scenes with Nerd Caliber. Oh, don't forget, we're going to be trying to put as many of these out as possible, so please let us know what you think by commenting down in the comments, as well as following us on Facebook at Nerd Caliber and Instagram. And don't forget to check out for the new amazing thing we have coming up called CAPE, Cosplay Photography Expo. All that information is found on our Facebook, and we'd love to have you out there. Have a great day.